So welcome back to this eczema Q&A. And this question is really important because a lot of people, they do food elimination, they do all kinds of, processed foods elimination, but they still keep some of these stimulants or things that they should remove from their diet to see long-term healing intact. So we want to make sure that everything is looked at in terms of whether it's alkaline or acidic to the body, and re-examined if it's going to propel us to, see healing or revert back to see more flare-ups. So when it comes to drinking coffee, or should you be drinking coffee if you have eczema, or should you have caffeine, my answer simply is no. And the reason is because coffee is a stimulant, and when you have eczema, your body is basically inflamed, and so your cortisol levels are really low. The cortisol that was used to keep that inflammation down is now pretty much exhausted. Your adrenal glands that pump this cortisol are extremely fatigued. So imagine adrenal burnout when you go through a stressful job, when you go through a breakup, who knows what. Your adrenals go through this process of pumping a lot of cortisol to keep that inflammation of that stress down. So when you drink coffee, what happens is the caffeine stimulates your adrenal glands and your nervous system. So not only your endocrine system, but your nervous system is stimulated by caffeine. And when that happens, then, pumping out that cortisol, those hormones, all of that is being dysregulated. When you overstimulate, you bring things out of balance. When things are understimulated, they're also out of balance. So you want to keep things really in balance. You don't want to give the body too much stimulation. And when the body's under very little stimulation from maybe lack of exercise or sitting down for too long, that also requires balance. So keeping the body really in a state of harmony is what we're looking for. So is having coffee or chocolate or caffeine once in a while on this journey detrimental? And the answer is no. You can have cheats once in a while, but make sure that they're, coupled with the right things beforehand or afterhand. So if you're gonna have coffee, have a nice full meal beforehand, because then the caffeine can be absorbed and assimilated by the body in a better way. So it's not gonna overstimulate your endocrine and nervous systems. And also, what really helps is to have some water with lemon afterwards, because that is going to bring back that alkalinity to your body. So whereas you have that acidic stimulant hit of the coffee, you're going to have that alkaline hit of that water, that hydration, and that the minerals and alkalinity of the lemon to offset that acidity. So whenever you have something acidic, look for something alkaline to have afterwards. If you have chocolate, just eat something afterwards or beforehand. So there is not really this, you never have chocolate, never have caffeine type of thing. We want to still have a quality of life, but we have to mediate how we're affecting our bodies with the foods and with the choices that we make. And so if I was to give somebody advice on what to do instead, it's to find a really good coffee substitute. So something organic, something made from maybe mushrooms or herbs. So any grains, wheat, any coffee substitute that's made from grains or wheat is probably not a good idea if you're on this eczema healing journey. But what is, again, are herbs, mushrooms, and so forth. So if you find chicory coffee, which is my favorite, organic chicory coffee is a wonderful substitute. And what I do is I add some Ceylon cinnamon to it. So it gives it that earthy, flavorful, very kind of chocolatey vanilla taste. It's just wonderful. So you can have these substitutes that are actually herbal instead of stimulants and caffeine related products. And if you're saying to yourself, hey Anessa, there's no way that I can live without coffee even for a day, then what I suggest, if you really like the flavor, you can't go without the coffee, I suggest you switch to decaf. So organic decaf, and make sure it's organic, because those extra pesticides, herbicides. Coffee is heavily treated with pesticides and herbicides. So if it's not organic, chances are you're internalizing all of those chemicals, the glyphosates. And when you're inflamed, you do not want to bring in more acids, more toxins. So always go organic and go with the best quality you can. So there are solutions. You don't have to go cold turkey, give up your favorite things, favorite foods, favorite drinks. Just manage how often you have them and how they interact with your body. Eat a proper meal before you have something caffeinated. Make sure you drink a lot of water after, because that helps to hydrate and helps to move the acids lymphatically throughout the body back to the kidneys. So all of these things matter. It's about how you do it, how consciously you put in the effort to not throw your body out of balance. And of course, enjoying life is extremely important as well. When you're healing, you want to be in a good emotional state. So if something gives you that, do not deny yourself. Just be very, very cognizant of your actions. So that is my answer. There are substitutes. There's herbal substitutes, decaf coffee, have chocolate once in a while, and that's life. Don't deny yourself, but then also understand this whole process of healing. It takes giving up certain things to see those benefits. So if you like this video, please stick around for more Q&A videos on how to manage your eczema day by day. Healing is not an easy process, so managing day by day naturally has to become part of that journey. You can't just go from chronic to healed. What happens in between is just as important. It's the most important part of us getting from point A to point B. So I hope these videos give you more of that clarity and provide that support while you're in this process. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.